I just have one thing to say. Hang on here.
This is former Vice President Joe Biden, the Democratic presidential nominee. In his climate policy, Biden has stated that he is for a clean energy revolution.
And science tells us that how we act or fail to act in the next 12 years will determine the very livability of our planet. By 2050, the United States will be 100% clean energy economy with net zero emissions.
So Biden is proposing to put an end to fossil fuels in the next 29 years. No more oil, coal, or natural gas. What do we have to replace it? Well, that's a good question. Biden's climate plan calls for a historic investment in clean energy and climate research and innovation, and incentivizes the rapid deployment of clean energy innovations across the economy. So the Biden administration would spend $400 billion on this research and innovation, but it's unclear what that innovation will be. But as it turns out, Joe Biden's grandchildren may have the answer.
Nothing gives me more hope for the future than seeing my 5 grandchildren challenge expectations. They see breakthroughs in technology we can't even yet imagine.
That's right. 5 of Joe Biden's grandchildren are visionaries who see breakthroughs in technology that we can't even imagine. But seriously, I think that Joe was supposed to say that they will see breakthroughs in technology, in their lifetimes.
They see breakthroughs in technology we can't even yet imagine.
This was probably one of those times where they had him read from a teleprompter and didn't catch that he made a mistake and just kept it, hoping that voters were too stupid to notice. Wouldn't be the first time.
Hello, everyone. I'm coming directly to you for ask a quick favor.
Anyway, there has been some question as to whether Joe Biden will ban the practice of hydraulic fracturing, otherwise known as fracking. Fracking is a controversial drilling technique that is used for extracting oil and natural gas from deep underground. So, will Biden ban fracking?
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking.
Sounds pretty definitive to me. Good night, everybody. Oh, if only things were that simple. So to reiterate, Biden's climate plan calls for 100% carbon-free electricity by the year 2035, and it also calls for the United States to be a 100% clean energy economy by the year 2050. And that means, in less than 30 years, no more fossil fuels. Every power station that uses oil and natural gas to generate electricity will be shut down. All vehicles powered by fossil fuels will need to be retrofitted or taken off the road. Every gas-powered stove and heating system will need to be replaced. Not to mention that this man will be out of a job big time. Damn it, Biden. So let's say that your goal is to get to a 100% clean energy economy. You would need to ban fracking, right?
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking.
But that declaration is dishonest. To show you how, let's take a look at Joe Biden's statements about fracking and fossil fuels during the 2020 campaign. First, here's Joe Biden during the July 2019 Democratic presidential debate.
Just to clarify, would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those, any fossil fuel.
So for clarity, Dana Bash asked if there would be any place for fossil fuels or fracking in a Biden administration, and Biden said no. He also said that he would make sure that it's eliminated and worked out. And on top of that, there would be no federal subsidies, which is a given because when you eliminate an entire industry, there's nothing left to subsidize. Now, the natural gas and oil industry employs hundreds of thousands of workers in the United States. So if you're a member of Biden's campaign staff, you might want to play down that whole eliminate fossil fuels thing, because otherwise you could potentially lose millions of votes. Take, for example, Pennsylvania, which includes over 27,000 workers in the gas extraction and oil drilling industries. Losing those votes from workers and their families could mean losing the state. So the day after the July debate, Bloomberg News reached out to Biden's campaign for clarity, and they released this statement. Joe Biden is committed to achieving a 100% clean energy economy and net zero emissions by 2050. He supports eliminating subsidies for coal and gas and deploying carbon capture sequestration technology to create economic benefits for multiple industries and significantly reduce carbon dioxide emissions. His campaign is attempting to downplay what Joe said, but it really doesn't address Joe's statement about eliminating fracking and fossil fuels. Then, in September 2019, Biden told an activist that he was going to end fossil fuels.
But kiddo, I want you to just take a look, okay? You don't have to agree, but I want you to look in my eyes. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate with you, okay? Before 2050, God willing.
And then at a December town hall in Peterborough, New Hampshire, there was this conversation between him and a voter.
If we don't stop using fossil fuels,
We're all dead.
we're all dead.
And in January 2020, he spoke to a voter in Claremont, New Hampshire.
What about, say, stopping fracking and stopping new pipeline infrastructure and
He just told this voter, yes, he would stop fracking and building of pipelines. Gee, I can't imagine why anyone would think that Joe Biden is against fracking. Then, in March 2020, during the last Democratic presidential debate, Biden said this.
Number one, no more subsidies for fossil fuel industry, no more drilling on federal lands, no more drilling including offshore, no ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. Ends. Number one.
Seems pretty clear, but then he gets into this exchange with Bernie Sanders.
This is an existential crisis.
Bingo.
You talk about, I'm talking about stopping fracking as soon as we possibly can. I'm talking about telling the fossil fuel industry that they are going to stop destroying this planet. No ifs, buts, and maybes about it. I'm talking about speaking to China. Well, I'm not sure your proposal does that. Joe believes to continue fracking. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No more, no new fracking. And by the way,
So during the March debate, Biden said three distinct things. No more drilling on federal land, no more fracking, and ending the ability to continue to drill, period. But the next day, the Biden campaign made yet another clarification saying that Biden was restating his existing platform about policy on federal lands, not endorsing Sanders' call for a nationwide ban. So in at least two instances, Biden's campaign has had to come out to say, yes, Biden said he was for banning fracking, but what he really meant to say was,
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking.
and that's a lie, because Biden will ban new fracking on federal land. So while he's not banning all fracking, he plans to ban some of it.
I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
Oh, I see, it's all Trump's fault.
Biden came out against fracking. Well, that means Texas is going to be one of the most unemployed states in our country. That means Oklahoma, North Dakota, New Mexico, going to be a disaster. Ohio, Pennsylvania, disaster, no fracking.
And of course, members of the media, including the Associated Press, have played defense for Joe Biden, fact-checking Trump, saying that he was distorting Biden's position on fracking. The AP fact check showed a transcript of what Trump said, including that Biden came out against fracking, and stated, "The facts. No, that's not Biden's position at all." But that's not true. The AP claims that Trump is distorting what Biden said by lying about what Trump said. So no matter how you try and spin this, Joe Biden is against fracking. And it even says so in the fact check. Biden supports banning only new oil and gas permits, fracking included, on federal land. So if Joe Biden isn't against fracking, then how come he is banning fracking on federal land? In a March 15th primary debate, Biden misstated his fracking policy, and his campaign quickly corrected the record, then added, "Trump continually ignores the correction." Oh, Joe Biden misstated his policy position and his campaign corrected it. Got it. I didn't know that the press could be so understanding. Biden has otherwise been consistent on his middle-of-the-road position, going as far to tell an anti-fracking activist that he ought to vote for somebody else if he wanted an immediate fracking ban. Trump didn't say that Biden was going to institute an immediate fracking ban. What Trump said was that Biden is against fracking. And that is 100% true. So again, Trump didn't distort or misstate anything. But great job, AP. You're doing God's work. So, if Joe Biden becomes the president of the United States, can he ban fracking nationwide? Well, he certainly wants to. President Biden would sign an executive order that would eliminate new fracking or drilling on federal lands. Immediately banning fracking and drilling nationwide, however, is a lot more complicated. Biden wants a 100% clean energy economy by 2050.
But before 2050, God willing.
So that means that Congress would have to pass legislation that bans fracking sometime before then, giving states deadlines to replace existing power sources and Americans enough time to swap out their cars, heaters, and stoves that require fossil fuels to operate. Despite that, there are influential politicians like Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who have introduced bills that would prohibit all hydraulic fracturing for oil and natural gas by the year 2025. And if by some miracle that a Democrat-controlled Congress passed an anti-fracking bill, don't you think that Biden would take the opportunity and sign it? Oh, you bet he would. But for now, Biden really needs to win Pennsylvania.
Do you support the continuation of fracking, safely and with proper guidelines, of course, and growing the industry to aid additional jobs to our region?
Yes, I do. I do.
Oh, so Biden wants to not only continue fracking, but also grow the industry. But what happens when you create all of those jobs only to eventually have fracking banned? What will happen to all those workers? Well, don't worry. According to Joe, they'll have options, just like the coal miners.
Anybody who could go down 300 to 3,000 feet in the mine sure and hell can learn how to program as well.
What?
Anybody who can throw coal into a furnace can learn how to program, for God's sake.
You heard it, folks. If you're one of the hundreds of thousands of oil and gas workers, the answer is pretty simple. Just learn to code. And that's it for now. Be sure to pick up your limited edition Asteroid 2020 merch before it's gone forever. Follow me on Twitter and Parler at Don't Walk Run, and don't forget to hit that like button and be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. As always, I hope to see you next time.